Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by lush green fields and towering trees, there lived two boys named John and Matthew. John was a poor but kind-hearted boy who lived with his widowed mother in a small, run-down house on the outskirts of town. They struggled to make ends meet, and John often had to walk to school with worn-out shoes and tattered clothes. On the other hand, Matthew was a wealthy boy who lived in a grand mansion on the hill overlooking the town. His father was a wealthy businessman who owned several companies, and Matthew was spoiled rotten. He had everything he could ever want, and he knew it. He was proud and arrogant, often looking down on those who were less fortunate than him. As the boys grew older, their differences in wealth and social status became more apparent. Matthew would often taunt John, calling him names like poor boy and beggar. John tried to ignore him, but it was hard to bear the pain of being belittled by someone who had so much. One day, fate decided to turn their lives upside down. Matthew's father lost all his wealth in a series of bad investments, and their mansion was foreclosed. The family's wealth was gone, and they were forced to move to a small apartment in the town. Matthew was devastated. He had never known a life without wealth and privilege, and he didn't know how to cope. John, on the other hand, had always dreamed of a better life. He worked hard in school and eventually landed a scholarship to a prestigious university. He studied business and economics, determined to make a better life for himself. After graduating, John landed a job at a top investment firm and quickly rose through the ranks. He became a successful entrepreneur investing in real estate, stocks, and bonds. He made a fortune, and his wealth grew exponentially. Years went by, and John became a respected and wealthy businessman. He bought a beautiful mansion on the hill, but it wasn't the same one that Matthew's family used to own. John never forgot his humble beginnings, and he made sure to help those in need. Meanwhile, Matthew had hit rock bottom. He had lost everything: his wealth, his status, and his pride. He was forced to move back to his hometown, where he struggled to find a job. He felt like a failure, and his arrogance had turned to ashes. One day, while walking down the street, Matthew ran into John. He was taken aback by John's success and wealth. He tried to hide his jealousy, but John could see the pain in his eyes. John, being the kind-hearted person he was, approached Matthew and offered to help him. He invited Matthew to his office and showed him his business empire. Matthew was amazed by John's success and asked for his help. John agreed to help Matthew, but on one condition: he had to swallow his pride and be willing to learn. Matthew, desperate for a second chance, agreed. John took Matthew under his wing and taught him the basics of business and finance. He introduced him to his network of contacts and helped him land a job at his company. Matthew worked hard, and slowly but surely he began to rebuild his life. As Matthew learned and grew, he began to realize the error of his past ways. He had been so blinded by his wealth and pride that he had lost sight of what truly mattered. He apologized to John for the way he had treated him in the past, and John forgave him. With John's guidance, Matthew's wealth and status began to grow once again. He became a successful businessman in his own right, but this time he was different. He was humble and kind, and he never forgot the lessons he had learned. John and Matthew became close friends, and their friendship lasted a lifetime. John had shown Matthew that true wealth wasn't just about money, it was about the relationships you built, the lessons you learned, and the kindness you showed to others. And so the poor boy and the wealthy boy lived happily ever after, a testament to the power of kindness, hard work, and a second chance.